We are live. This is the market update. The news no one saw correctly. You saw silver. Silver is mooning indiscriminately. We'll go over the reasons why if you haven't heard. But there is news, which I can talk about gently, about a certain official, a certain central banker who's having a little bit of a problem. Outside of his normal problems of keeping interest rates way too high, he's now got himself like a political legal thing. Now, when you talk to stock market people about Powell's little problem, they freak out because, oh my God, the Fed's not independent. And, you know, this news reflects, you know, the executive branch wanting to push around the Fed. Therefore, that's somehow negative, you know, because equities need that independent Fed to keep pushing that sugar and the plunge protection team to keep moving equities higher. Laughable. The Fed has never been independent, ever. Ever. Okay, it's a deep state monster machine. Want to know how? I'll tell you. They raised rates, they crushed housing, they sent you credit cards to 25%, and none of those things were what was creating inflation. They were operating out of an outdated economics textbook, and now they're acting out of an even more outdated economics textbook by not seeing what's going on in the labor market. So, not that anybody, you know, deserves that kind of legal scrutiny. But, you know, as I gave the full rant to Patreon, we have not asked ourselves what happens if the leadership of a central bank effectively fails and gets replaced. We also have not asked ourselves what happens if they pull the veil back on this $2.5 billion mega headquarters. I mean, which is kind of funny relative to what Uncle Sugar spends. But if they pull the veil back and they want to know the details of the building, let me ask you something. And again, not going to give too many details because I went off in Patreon. But what exactly are they doing in this $2.5 billion building anyway? A bunch of economists in cubes? What? So a lot of really interesting things here. Jim Cramer and most of the stock people said that the stock market went down on this and the stock market was irrational because it came back. And I'm like, what is wrong with you guys? Don't you realize that, you know, this is the admission that this guy is going to have to go before May. It's going to have to go before May. And then as soon as the new guy comes in, all they have to do is take a payroll number, wait for a payroll number to come out, and then cut rates. I mean, Citibank has already started. Like, that stock has been breaking out. Right? Citibank is, you know, a large Wall Street player. They let 1,000 people go today. Right? And this is only the beginning. Like, Wall Street does this in packs, right? They pay bonuses and they let people go. This starts in January and it goes through March. And that's what's going to happen. Now, some of that could be AI related. The rest of it is just a giant excuse to lay people off. I think corporations have been using AI as a cover story to lay people off. Now, what does this have to do with Bitcoin? And what does this have to do with silver? We'll cover both. But first, if you like the channel and you like the content, hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe because we're coming back strong with more and more live streams. And don't forget to leave a comment down below, particularly if you like some of the live TA, which we'll be doing later in the show. Now, back to a central bank failure. If you have a new guy in there and they have to cut rates harder and faster, I don't think that's priced into Bitcoin at all. I don't think this negative news about Powell and what it means for lower rates now or massively lower rates in the future. Hear me out. Okay, so let's say Powell stays in office, but they just continue to drag him through the mud. All that's going to do is give the next guy a bigger mandate to unwind all things Jerome Powell. All the rate hikes, everything is just going to get unwound faster. So even if he stays in office, this lingering thing that they've now created has generated something that we have not had in a very long time. A reason to own crypto. In other words, if you have problems at a central bank, that means it's time for a different currency. And we know we have problems over in Japan as their government bond market is melting down and the central bank is letting it happen. So now we have two central banks on the embarrassment list. Now, silver. So all anybody wants to talk about in crypto these days is silver because it's up only. So it's become everybody's new favorite altcoin. Silver is suffering from a supply shock where people, mainly because of the data center build out, are trying to use paper futures contracts to take delivery of silver. And there just isn't enough silver. It's the exchanges, the depositories, they don't have enough if everybody wanted to take delivery all at once. And everybody is trying to take delivery to such a degree that my understanding is silver was trading at like $130 at specialty metal shops in China a week ago. So our market, since it's kind of suppressed, you know, silver is the most suppressed market with paper shorts. I think because of this problem, you're going to see silver at like 100 easily. Now, one other thing, again, I explain his full details to Patreon, but we are coming up on a season where you can have big trend reversals or big trend magnification or both. So it looks like silver's got another month, and various altcoins, I think, are telling you that a bottom in crypto is in. Okay, Monero looks like the new Zcash. That's just an absolute monster. That actually really is a privacy coin. And the thing, the pain point there is Americans can only get access to it through Kraken. Right? So it's not on Coinbase. It's not on Gemini. And, you know, what goes up the most? What they don't understand, what they don't own, and they can't buy. So Zcash was a huge rally. Zcash may still go up. I don't know how much. With Zcash, I don't know how much more you're going to see of the 300 handle. Crypto's getting ready to move because there's a catalyst to own it. Now, there's another catalyst to own it that has not been discussed at all, or it was a small paragraph. It was a small paragraph, all right, in an otherwise larger article about Meta doing, you know, an epic AI data center investment. Now, one thing that we've sort of suggested is that if the US government or big tech companies, you know, started subsidizing Bitcoin miners. Now, what do I mean by that? If you have a Bitcoin miner, they have to sell Bitcoin to fund their operations. I mean, that's kind of been the traditional model. However, if they get money across the board from AI-related revenues, namely, if they get incentivized to build additional computing facilities where they're already connected to an electrical grid, these payments, either from the government to create the computing power, that's a theory, or possibly from the private sector. This is already happening. You know, the multiples for AI-related mining stocks have expanded and those stocks have all 10x'd. And, you know, like if AI pays them for rack space or there becomes enough money in this game for them to start expanding, the net is you could be taking a couple of hundred Bitcoin a day in sales out of the market. In other words, have we gotten to a point where AI hardware pressure is so extreme that the miners are incentivized to expand computer production, to expand hardware production, to take money from AI companies and not have to sell Bitcoin at all? And could Uncle Sugar or the government, as we discussed yesterday, ever finance such a thing? How convenient for me that today, again, this Meta announcement, right, can share this briefly so you can just see it. Okay. You know, they're just going to build everything. They're going to build everything everywhere. Okay. Artificial intelligence infrastructure to oversee social media, fleet of data centers. I mean, this is going to be so epic. It could benefit the miners. And if it benefits the miners, Bitcoin's going up. The miners were up today. Bitcoin didn't do anything. Stocks didn't do anything. I mean, MicroStrategy was even up 4% today. So I'm painting this picture of stealth catalysts. The great news about you watching this show, the great news, especially about the last YouTube member podcast, where we've been pounding the table. We've actually got a great analysis of February coming up in there. Naturally, Toby Ward, being the genius that she is, actually even surprised me. Okay. Actually even surprised me with, you know, hey, this is what's going to go on in February. And it may be shocking, but it may not be as shocking for crypto on the downside. You know, we've also got reports out, not to overshill, but we've got reports out with new valuation models for crypto, right? This latest one that's in Patreon Platinum is a little bit outside the box, but similar coins keep coming up. And all this AI news is not being traded in crypto. No one has traded AI. No one has traded AI in crypto yet. They haven't. All right. So the day that starts, which could be the eclipse in February. Okay. Because the last time I remember an eclipse of this magnitude in a down market was when Bitcoin bottomed at like 16K and the Bitcoin ETF trade took off. Like that there was an eclipse at the bottom near 16 to 20K. So if you're down on crypto, and people are like, people are like, I'm done. I'm out of this. We discussed on the YouTube member podcast that, you know, investment banks started publishing 2050 targets because there was literally nothing to say about the market. Now there's everything to say about the market. The Fed chairman's out and rates have to go lower. And if they don't go lower now, they're going to go massively lower later. I don't even know how the guy responds to this type of stuff without quitting. I think that's what they've done. Now, stock market initially thought that was terrible. Well, okay, if your sugar daddy's going to quit, I guess it can be terrible initially. But there is no way that a problem with a central bank or getting rates lower 200 basis points is not good for crypto, particularly since this idea of, you know, credit card interest rates being artificially reduced to 10%, it's not happening. It's not happening because people are walking away from credit cards. So anybody who's paying is effectively paying for the people who are not paying. Honestly, they have to cut rates 200 basis points. And that has not been traded in crypto, not in Bitcoin, not in ETH, not in Solana. The AI trade in any of these coins has also not been traded. Now, I know I said that yesterday, but now with this Powell thing and the full rant in Patreon, that guy and everything he stands for is done. Done. And if people don't realize what that means for crypto, when crypto turns, it's going to be gone. Like, I know they're lulling you to sleep at 90K. Sometimes that is unnerving. I don't think so. I don't think it's unnerving anymore. I think what's unnerving, like I said, here's Cramer, right? Market has a lot wrong today. Market has it all wrong on Powell. Market went down, stock market went down and came back up again. All bearish, all negative. One guy was like, I've seen the dot-com bubble. I've seen the 2008 bubble. It's a bubble. It's a bubble. It's a bubble. It went up. It shouldn't go up. When you have people talking like that, it's not a bubble, first of all. And second of all, crypto as a part of this trade, right? Like AI, massively lower rates. I mean, Zero Hedge today was reporting that, people want to kind of do value investing in luxury goods stocks. I'm like, okay, let me get this straight. We're going to buy luxury goods stocks, but we're not going to buy Bitcoin. We're not going to buy the major altcoins, particularly with like another privacy coin future of money rally already underway. Are you serious? And the answer is yes, they're serious because the market hasn't done anything and no one believes in it. And you know what? Good. Because when they do the Magnificent Seven earnings in February, when they realize that this massive spending marathon has, perhaps dented earnings or caused a disappointment there's going to be an organic rotation combined with the silver parabolic, right? Commodity markets were the markets that were famous for wild price action before crypto. I know it's hard to imagine a world without crypto, but commodity and commodity futures was crypto before crypto. Like, there'd be a shock, like there was a shock in oil that sent oil from 50 to 150. There have been soybean droughts and things like that. This silver thing is no different. It's no different. It's become a mania. Now, I understand there is a fundamental reason, and silver is probably resetting itself at a generally much higher level. But a mania is a mania. And if you're looking for a bubble or something that can get totally out of hand, right? In other words, everyone says, well, stock market's a bubble like 2000. Yeah, but you don't realize that the market in 2000 literally went straight up from October of 1999 to March of 2000. They did 10 years worth of returns in 6 months. Literally, it was straight up. You could have that same kind of price action in silver. You want a bubble? Oh, we'll give you a bubble. We'll give you silver at 140 when demand destruction is at 125. Because this can happen. The U.S. paper market cannot hold down what's going on in China, and China is only too happy to pressure the market higher because they own more of precious metals than we do. So they're happy with that, and that could just get totally out of control. And I think the only negative for crypto about silver is that all the eyeballs are over on silver. Silver has the eyeballs. Okay. But we have lower rates, and we have dollar debasement, and we have a privacy rally in motion and render an AI rally brewing. So all you need is for those speculative juices to get high enough. Just in case you're wondering, you are cheering for silver if you're in crypto, even if silver is boring. The reason GameStop's rally in 2021 triggered an alt season was because everybody was just like, oh, goody, speculation, let's go. Now, in this particular case, it's not just going to be speculation in altcoins. It's going to be the entire sector once silver launches through 100. And you have, possibly an exchange failure. So you could have a Fed failure. You could have a Bank of Japan failure, both different. And you could have a legacy futures exchange crisis. Because, the only reason you get silver at 125 or over 100 is because people just can't get delivery through Western futures contracts, calling those futures contracts into question. You might as well go on Polymarket and bet on the price. What's the point of the futures contract? That's a major issue if people start looking at exchanges. And again, we've discussed this, but we haven't discussed it as a double shot with this Powell thing, right? But, you know, the alternative form of money and Bitcoin and the whole Bitcoin story that you've heard ad nauseum, and the maximalists are out doing podcasts, pounding the table. Yeah, see, they're pounding the table on the wrong thing. This is a Fed macro thing now. Everything that guy has ever done is going to be repudiated. And I know that there's a lot to say about the administration. You know, for everything that they've done right, they've done 12 things wrong. This is something that they got right to try to pressure this guy, especially if there's actual wrongdoing. But, you know, to try to pressure this guy to just get out. He's obviously not willing to cooperate with anything they're asking him to do. I think this is a reflection of the fact that he refused to cooperate with Bessent. In other words, I don't think the orange man's going to like him no matter what he does. But if there was a lack of cooperation with Bessent, I think that's when they pulled this thing out. That's also a completely under-discussed point. This guy thinks that he can do whatever he wants. Again, Patreon's got the full rant. I think it's a very, very, very powerful point for crypto that people don't understand yet, which is in many ways understandable, right? How is the average crypto head going to go, okay, so Jerome Powell has this like legal problem now about testimony, and he releases a video that sounds like it was recorded by a robot that says, you can't touch me on this. Well, this screams Bitcoin, because it takes this whole, you know, politicization, you know, it puts politics and the Fed together, which equities people hate and I love. Okay. Okay. So someone's asking, what month do I expect the new Fed chair? Normally I would say it was May. I think they're going to do it at the end of February. I think Powell's February meeting is his last meeting. That he just basically gets up to the podium and says, hi, we're leaving interest rates unchanged. I'm leaving. I'm done. You know, and I'm sure there will be a deal made where they'll drop all this stuff and he just wants to walk away. I just can't believe it. And even if he doesn't do that, anything that the guy says is just going to be completely discounted. Like if he doesn't cut, every time he doesn't cut rates, that's just going to mean the next guy's going to have to cut harder. And I don't think anyone understands this. And everyone's trying to tell me, again, you know, getting back to crypto in a second, everyone is going to try to tell me that the Fed can't cut rates because of the AI data center build out and what it's going to do for gross domestic product. Let me just tell you something. Focusing on gross domestic product is stupid. It was stupid because everybody was saying, remember what the recession talk? Like, oh, we're definitely going into a recession. That was a year ago. Polymarket. Oh yeah. U.S. going into a recession. A recession is when, you know, gross domestic product or the amount of stuff we produce, it actually, you know, on a percentage basis contracts for 2 consecutive quarters. That's a recession. Now that never happened, but how's it going in Costco and how's it going on the job market? Now we're trying to say because gross domestic product is going up because we're building everything in sight, that somehow, you know, somehow creates a good economy, right? Has nothing to do with the labor market, nothing. And the fact that everybody, including the Fed, focuses on these things is stupid. GDP as a metric for interest rates is older than I am and is way obsolete. I mean, we're suggesting in Patreon Platinum that you got to start using, you know, like abstract thought processes to value cryptos. You know, your standard, check the LinkedIn of the founders, check the Twitter, you know, look at the tokenomics. I mean, these things are important, but that's not how you pick coins anymore. It's not. It's not how you pick stocks anymore either. It isn't, right? Just being like, oh yeah, let's use the old method in a new era. All right. In a new era in crypto, you have things that are going to move the market that have not moved the market before. Crypto Twitter is like, are they cutting or are they not cutting? Now it's, do they have credibility or do they not have credibility? Like we know they don't have credibility. But now they're going to be saying the quiet part out loud. By the way, also for crypto, another interesting little tidbit, which I think is why the stock market is higher. You know, I don't think they're going to be satisfied in the equity market until they take out 7,000 in the S&P. It could be just me, could be me, but it feels like they want to go for 7,000. Silver wants to go for 100, and equities want to go for 7,000. And I know these stock guys are all bearish, and that's fine, right? Because I think the valuations over there relative to the valuations in crypto are ridiculous, right? Silver took out NVIDIA today on the market cap chart, by the way. Very interesting that a rock is worth more than NVIDIA. That's pretty robust, and that's terrific. Fantastic. Let these guys crank it up big time. Let them crank it up big time. Because like silver, when crypto goes, there's absolutely no stopping it. And this Clarity Act is starting to get headlines, and politicians are starting to push this because it is midterm election year. They need an accomplishment, and they need the crypto bro vote. Pat Yeager says Powell was bad for America and he was not going to let crypto in our economy. You're right. As I said earlier, Powell is a card-carrying agent of the deep state. Probably not something I should say, and I had a lot more to say about it in a lot more colorful language. The more he embarrasses himself, the better it is for the space. You know, which is why, again, back to crypto, I'm looking at it right now. This is in the evening session. Dash is up 10%. Right. And kind of like the top cryptos for the year. I mean, we had Dash going to like 100. Right now it's at 43. Monero is probably going to 1,000. Monero is going to go Zcash. So it's at 643. Monero is probably going to go to 1,000 because nobody can buy it. Right. And then you have other future of money cryptos. You know, you have Decred, which is like, you know, the Pabst Blue Ribbon of, you know, Bitcoin style cryptocurrency, like Bitcoin forks. But again, when you start looking at like Riot blockchain up 7% today, right? You had Iren up 10%. Okay. The Bitcoin miner ETF was up 5% today, and no movement in Bitcoin. It's funny that all the action is in the stock market portion of crypto still. But obviously, that's going to change. I think that's going to change, and it's going to change like dramatically. And if that is what happens, okay, you can have upside action. Like I'm just looking at Avalanche now for the heck of it. Avalanche around $13. Avalanche was at 30 in October. Okay, switching to a little bit of live TA. Interesting in Zcash, how you've got the 13 bottom, you've got the candle that comes up on Monero or post Monero, and now it's kind of holding this moving average on the 4-hour chart. Very interesting. You know, God help you if Zcash and Monero get moving. Now, if you want to talk about Monero, which I'm sure you do, this is a 4-hour chart. This could squeeze higher for at least 2 more days before you have to worry about any type of a pause, right? And if you look at a daily chart, see this 9? If this does not create a reversal, if this is just a pause that refreshes, or if there's a down move and it comes back, you could have 2 more up weeks. 2 more up weeks. In other words, if you want to know what it could look like in Monero, okay, that's silver weekly. Okay, here's silver. Yeah, either way, let's say. We got the daily. Okay. See, here's what it looks like in silver, right? You go 1 through 9. Big 9 means pause. Silver paused for like 1 day. And then it just kept going, right? 2 more up weeks. You know, when you go back to Monero, if you're sitting here looking at a pause that refreshes, and there's something on the trading view chart of Monero that we need to talk about. And that is a breakout or a possible breakout from like an upward sloping wedge formation. Not a possible breakout. It did. Okay. So there is a sign on LuxAlgo that this is a little bit toppy. But if you look at the overall history of Monero, like it's been nothing but a square range since 2021. Right? It's, you know, Monero's up, down, and this is a giant. I just figured this out now. This is a giant teacup and handle formation. Something like this. Or a giant rounding bottom. See how it has this arc all the way down, sit all the way back up. This is the same type of thing that happened in gold. And all this market needs is one coin to lead it. Zcash was the one coin market. Monero can be the one coin market until everybody figures out the interest rate situation, which, like I said, has changed dramatically. Okay, again, back to Monero, and then we'll go to Zcash. I mean, so we'll go to the rest of the market. Like Monero blew through this big DeMark resistance point at 617. And if it just sits here like this, it's going to take off again for 2 weeks. Another underreported AI play is Solana. What's happening in Solana? Nothing. Okay. Yeah. All right. Nothing. But this is a giant base. I think when you look at this Fed news today, this looked like something where, oh, gee, we didn't know if it was going to gap down. Now, I think the longer these products sit, trying to get this for the vertical guys, the longer these products sit on top of these DeMark moving averages, the more likely it just turns around and frankly explodes. Right? In other words, there isn't going to be any gradually and then suddenly here. Like, it's the same with Bitcoin if you look at Bitcoin on, say, the weekly chart. Okay. 3 different times the market has hit this Gann line and held. Now, it took a while. It was a multi-week basing process. But once it stopped, it just went. And this could be this Bitcoin mining supply shock thing. And if you go to some of these miner charts, I'm like, you know, you're like, yeah, Bill, I want to talk about small cap crypto. I'm actually working on a small cap crypto. Actually, don't tell Toby, but I'm actually working on a meme coin. More on that soon. But I mean, if you go and look at, say, some of these mining companies, this is not necessarily an AI play, Marathon Digital. If you go to the daily chart, I'm starting to think speed, magnitude, and direction here. What goes down a certain way goes right back up the same way. And look at this give up trade at the end of the year. I mean, you know, if miners do not have to sell, right? This is an AI connected miner, Iren, or something that's inside the AI Bitcoin arena. Notice how it's kind of taken out the 50-day moving average with some gusto. We're all going to make it. WAGMI. Very, very, very interesting little name for this Bitcoin mining ETF, which has more of a bid than Bitcoin itself. Such is life with stonks, right? If people get frustrated in stonks, oh God, look at this. Look at this from the Ego King. Oh my God. I'm seeing some of this lately. Viewership of cryptocurrency related content has dropped to its lowest level since January of 2001. To say that people have packed it in crypto, like this isn't even fear greed now. Like it's not fear greed. What we're seeing is winter sentiment. People are just like, there's no reason to read research. I'm seeing it in my Patreon. People are just like, I'm done. It's revulsion, which is classic. You have revulsion, boredom, people exit, nothing to talk about, nothing to watch, nobody cares. And then, you know, Meta does AI, Powell gets, you know, done. Like, you know, done. If he doesn't cut rates, it just means the next guy will have to. So all these catalysts appeared like that with Monero doing what it's doing. I mean, no one cares, and Bitcoin's at 90. What price is Bitcoin going to be at when people start caring again? Because don't forget, you know, after the election, 90 was like, oh my God, everyone's wearing a lampshade on their head. Now, yeah, there had been a tremendous rally that got you to 90. But it's funny how the same, you know, the same price has dramatically different sentiment. Right? Right. Somebody thinks Flying Tiger thinks people jumped on the Zcash FUD and piled into Monero. Okay. You know, that's entirely possible. I think people have forgotten. I mean, Monero is the ultimate privacy coin, period, end of story. Right. But I think people have forgotten about the fact that Zcash is Bitcoin. It's a Bitcoin fork that has privacy features. That's not nothing. You know, that is way too cheap. Way too cheap. I mean, you have Cardano and, you know, Tron and all this stuff above Zcash on the market cap chart. Zcash, I don't even think is top 20 anymore. That's crazy, right? Someone asking about Venice token, which actually came up, I want to say, in one of our filters later in the year. You know, now on Coinbase. Again, you know, it's funny. Deep. A lot of Coinbase stuff mooning. Right? I believe this is an AI agent play. Straight up. Right? I sold XDC and bought it to buy more XRP. Well, you know, Toby weighed in on XRP and which big coin she liked the best. I'm not opposed to XRP because I think when it all goes, the thing people have not really considered, and Toby does talk about it, and I can talk about it because it's so freaking boring, no one's going to listen to me anyway, is ETH. You know, I don't talk about this anymore, but, you know, normally ETH follows gold and silver especially. It's funny. And, of course, there's no sign of that. So, I mean, what am I going to say about it except for the fact that ETH is sitting right below its 50-day moving average, and LuxAlgo has put kind of a nifty-looking trend line on here. I think this is a monster rally going someplace to happen. Interesting how money flow has been green on ETH since the low in mid-December. Okay, here's your 300 handle in Zcash again. And I'm starting to wonder if you got to start drawing. I didn't think of this, but until now, I'm wondering if you got to start drawing Fibonacci retracement levels. Again, trying to keep this in the middle for everybody on the vertical stream, welcoming anybody who's on TikTok. Okay. You know, it may be crazy and no one wants to see it, but 62% of the Zcash ramp is 312. I think if you ever saw that, that would be the buy for the ages, because they broke out of the bottom end of this triangle, and I'd be a liar if I told you that was good. It's not. It's not. But you know, I'm okay with waiting, because how long have we waited? Like, what does Druckenmiller say? The money is not made in the buying and the selling. The money is made in the waiting. The money is made in the waiting. Right. And if you have any of these like hidden catalysts, AI and mining, or the AI mining stocks leading crypto, sometimes that happens. Right. In other words, back in the 90s, when you were looking for leading indicators for stocks and bonds, you would look at the broker dealer stocks like Merrill Lynch or Citibank. You would look at the stocks of these big companies that were involved in finance, and they would start rallying before there would be a rally in the actual capital markets themselves. Clearly that happened today, and clearly crypto is not getting the memo. So is it another day of watching paint dry? Not really, because a lot of the work that we're doing in the YouTube member area is pointing to some coins that are getting perky, particularly their DeFi protocols, layer ones that AI agents are going to start using. You cannot get away from this AI agent theme at all. You absolutely can. You cannot. Right now, someone's asking to look at TAO, and I know one of our members wants some custom TA on some of the things he's looking at. I have not forgotten about that. Right. So the thing I like about the DeMark work on TAO is you got the 9 top, and then you have the pause that refreshes. When you have the pause that refreshes, you have the ability to turn around and take off again. Is it going to happen today? I don't know. But the longer it stays here and doesn't go down, the more constructive it can be. It just has to take out resistance at 306. Now, I know I'm going to take a moment to like welcome who's here. Supermag, Grandpa Keeter, a longtime member. Yob, first on the stream, welcome. The Great Santini, Odd Dark. Fly Integer, a #1 consumer of content. Welcome, sir. ADL is here. All right. Reply. This is the token I was looking for. There's this like small token this one guy likes. And it looks like getting paid for your attention. That's what it looks like. Very, very hard to find a decent chart of it, because the market cap is so small, right? It's only 4 million. So you have to be extremely careful. Okay. That's the 7-day chart. And what's really interesting is if you go to the Twitter, which I found really interesting, earn motivating sales of any product just by posting, no links, no signups. Sort of like getting paid for your attention. Is it today's trade? I don't know. But the fundamental idea of these things fits the model of not using old ways of thinking to look at new products and new markets. Because Powell is going, and the way we value securities and crypto is going. In other words, one knock on crypto is that, you know, crypto is not like equities. It doesn't have cash flows, doesn't have earnings, doesn't have any of this stuff. Well, guess what? There are thought leaders in equities that saying, you know what, you can throw stuff out the window. Yes, earnings are going to matter for these huge companies. Of course they matter, right? But, you know, I guess for lack of a better word, the narrative is more important than nuts and bolts finance. And Bitcoin is the classic example. right? Bitcoin as a form of money, as software that can't be replicated, et cetera, et cetera. And now something that's going to benefit from a massive regime change in instruments because Powell is completely done. Completely done. Hawaii writer, Forbidden Planet, Jeff Dickinson, what's going on? Alpha Video. You know, this Matrix token that's going to come out from this antivirus universe, this token's got like a 1 million market cap. You're going to trade the Solana token in. I mean, again, the privacy narrative with Monero mooning. All of these small coins in privacy, if market cap goes to 100 billion. Shelly Pharma Allen, Supermat up in the middle of the night in the UK. Goodness, right? Voice me 3578. Welcome. Is Zcash going to run up faster or will Bitcoin run up faster? Okay, well, last year was clearly the year of Zcash outperformance. I think if there was ever an AI event that triggered a massive rally in privacy across the board, Zcash can go to 1,000. If you thought Zcash was going to 1,000 last year, you should think Zcash and Monero can go to 1,000 this year. Now, of course, it's good for you to note that Bitcoin could suddenly readjust itself after, I don't know, a year and a half of selling or suppression or whatever you want to call it. You know, selling by people who are just cashing out. And we've already gone through this whole thing. You know, you've heard the meta analogy about how everybody sold their Facebook stock. And then one day there was just a gap move and it was gone. I don't see this being any different. Matter of fact, it could be the Fed meeting now that I think of it. The Fed meeting's like within a week of the eclipse. Powell steps up at the podium and says, everybody, it's going to be my last meeting. I'm a distraction. We cannot implement policy with all this stuff going on. I'm out. I mean, if he wanted to do something that was actually good for the Fed, that's what he would do. He would just be like, you know what? I'm done. I'm going to ride off into the sunset. I was done in May anyway. Then, frankly, I would think they just can't touch him at that point. That's a guess. I mean, what are they going to do? Oh, yeah, let's drag a private citizen in front of Congress over $2.5 billion in federal expenditures. You know, you want to worry about $2.5 billion, go to Minnesota. Go figure that out. I mean, if I was him, that's what I would say. But he is done. He is absolutely done. Okay. So Forbidden Planet is saying you want to see why the banks are laying people off. Okay, well, the banks are laying people off because entry-level analysts can be replaced with AI agents, and they're always looking for an excuse. You know, as their stocks rally, they need to justify earnings, and frequently the best way to cut expenses is to cut full-time employees with benefits. This is why nobody can get a job. That's what's going on. It's that simple. The AI data center build out, okay, along with, you know, the AI data center build out, all right, along with this whole idea of we've got to jump over the bar in equities. Grandpa Keeter bringing up a coin. I want to say we got this into Patreon Platinum. We definitely talked about it on the YouTube member live stream before the rally, assuming there was a rally, right? Railgun. Okay. Our AI model and the Toby model liked Rail before this move happened. I think this is a top privacy small cap. I know we went over this on the PowerPoint on the YouTube member area. You know, it's one of the reasons to be on the stream because all the hot research gets presented right then and there. Patreon Platinum does get a hot research. Obviously, they get it in writing with PowerPoint decks. Still, that said, dude, LuxAlgo, the light is on. The light is on in Railgun. You know, and this is also a good time, again, trying to help our people on the vertical stream as much as I can. You know, the energy that propelled Railgun up here twice still exists. That energy doesn't go away. Does it? Right? If something's got jet propulsion for a move, Aero is a classic example, right? You know, when Aero goes, it goes. you look at a weekly chart of Aero, you know, any market that can make moves like the ones that Aero has made, this was 2024, this was 2025, they can do it again. They can do it again. And it would be really funny in Aero if all Aero really was on a weekly chart was like a giant diamond. Can you imagine? Like, I've seen square consolidation. I don't think I've ever seen in entire history. These are one of the most explosive formations that are out there. Didn't draw it right. There we go. Like, if that's actually the case, oh my God. Like, people were trying to tell me about this last year, and I know it was way up and way down. I don't know, man. I just think the value proposition for stuff like this has kind of, can I say, gone up or become more powerful? You know, like my Bitcoin ETF graph and Meta. T-minus 30 days to a gap. Now, yesterday, it was like, okay, Bill, that's very nice artwork. I'm sure your 6th grade art teacher is very appreciative of your nice artwork. But you know what, folks? This gap could be Powell being done. That's in a month. This is nowhere in legacy media today. Nowhere in the media is Powell's done. I mean, we know everything he thinks is done. And now that's, you know, twice as true. But I'm sitting here with a chart going, hey guys, this could, you know, dramatically change out of nowhere. I mean, like, and Toby covered this very eloquently. I'll ask you, I'll do it this way. What is the downside catalyst for crypto? Like the bears who think it's going to 70, like how do they think that happens? I mean, I guess you could have a stock market meltdown. I guess that would be, you know, that would be one cause. You know what the problem? I mean, you know, stocks are going to disappoint. There's going to be a problem. We know that, but you know, could it be a rotation? I think yes. Okay, Toshi, a meme coin. I think if you're doing meme coins, you want to do small meme coins and gamble with a stop. I'm not saying this can't go up, but I'm saying, you know, this was the funny coin a year ago at this time. Let's leave it that way, right? The innovation game, that's different. Okay, don't have the right chart on this. That's CoinGecko. Again, we'll try to do this. Here we go. Eagle King. Okay, so this is reply, which we already talked about. Okay, we like to take really good care of our members. So feel free to join the YouTube member area because you get priority on comments. Okay, we continue to believe that this innovation game token is interesting, mainly because the consolidation is sideways. It's very interesting. The network for algorithmic breakthroughs. I mean, we are publishing, and Toby is talking about AI, like to the point where I think you can say we're officially pounding the table. And that's what you have to do in environments like this. Like Toby has one way of saying it. I have other ways where I have to be like, I have to keep my head. I have to keep my head in this game when everybody goes into full despair mode. Now, just to come back to a point about Zcash. Zcash was the leader last year. I think Bitcoin and Monero are going to be the leaders this year. And I think this Matrix token, when they get it out the door, is going to shock people from the antivirus universe. Lowen is here asking if I know anything about livestock or commodities on the blockchain. Dude, every market is going to get tokenized for increased liquidity. This includes, I mean, because, dude, look, when this is over in silver, strangely, Tether Gold, right, some token where you have a major organization holding gold and a token attached to that, may be more reputable of a trading instrument than a legacy futures contract. So if there's a problem with the silver futures contract, you know, you're talking about ag futures, everything is all of a sudden going to need to get tokenized, which again is a real world asset catalyst that I hadn't thought of, which is also there. Silver solves so many problems for crypto. Silver at $100 an ounce solves so many crypto problems. And again, you can have speculation return. I mean, I'm currently doing a study where I'm looking at 2 meme coins that went to like 3 and 500 million. And I'm looking at some other little meme coin that's at like, I don't know, sub 1 million. That's doing almost the same thing. Like the new thing in crypto, in the speculative part of crypto, is supply control. Like, you know, you can fake volume, you can fake, I mean, bots can fake anything, but you can't fake the supply. Because everyone's probably wondering, like, you know, what brings altcoins back? What brings crypto back? You know what brings crypto back? Scarcity. That starts with Bitcoin. That starts with ETH, which is also deflationary. That could lead to a XRP IPO, because that's the other thing. You know, how many of these crypto projects are going to be able to IPO if stocks don't melt down? Or if stocks just go into like some sort of consolidation or range? I mean, everyone is over there is negative. Super Matt tuning in the middle of the night from Switzerland. By the way, let us know what you think of this 9 p.m. Eastern time frame. If you like the 9 p.m. Eastern time frame, I know we had a morning show. I've got some logistical issues trying to keep that going. If you like the evening time frame, hit the like button and leave a comment. I'm serious. That's not just engagement farming. We need to know if you like 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern. Okay, so someone asking about ICP. And how many times has ICP gone up and then gone straight back down again? There's 2 ways to look at that. 1, it's over and you don't care anymore. And 2, I'm asking what happens is after this level of giving up. This is unbelievable. This red on red. I mean, people just were like, people were selling this like there's something wrong with it. I don't know. Tell me if there is. But what I do know is that when these things cross their 50-day moving average, like those Bitcoin mining stocks, right? Like WGMI, WAGMI, right? Once they take out the 50-day moving average, and this is something that, you know, a guy Jordy Visser wrote about, is like, you know, there's 2 times to buy something. Before it's obvious and after it's obvious. Right now, it's not obvious that you want to own crypto. Right now, it's not obvious that, you know, there's all these like small hidden catalysts that, you know, people aren't seeing. Somebody's right. It was 10 Eastern. Sorry. Sleep deprivation. So if you like 8 or 9 Eastern, let me know for a start time, because it may be the new thing. So if you like it, let us know. Flying Tiger says, love it. I can watch it after work. Roto Rootage says he likes it. And now if Grandpa Keeter likes it, well, we're going to have to take it seriously, because Grandpa Keeter is the leader of the pack. Schillerverse also digs it. Okay, people. I think I've made the point. I have no problem making it again tomorrow. That Fed meeting in a month matters. The media's next round of headlines about Powell matters. And I think the potential upside catalysts for things like Bitcoin now outweigh the oh, the stock market might go down theory. I think supply constraint is the new future of crypto. It's the future of silver, and it's also the future of crypto. That is the market update for today. We will see you soon.